Welcome to One Step Past, and this is way past strange, the dancing goddess of Ceylon. She wasn't there, or was she? In the 21st century, people believe that cameras can capture anything. Over the decades, there have been many photographs and videos of things that do seem supernatural. While the world is watching and waiting for absolute, irrefutable proof that paranormal things exist, what can you do when the spirit can't be caught on film? That is what happened to a team of cameramen when they went to present-day Sri Lanka. The strangest thing of all is that they did not realize they had seen something supernatural until after they reviewed their work. Ceylon. The island country of Ceylon was under British control from 1796 to February 4th, 1948. After that, it became the country of Sri Lanka. It is located in South Asia, just off of the Indian subcontinent. Our story takes place in late 1937 when the country was still called Ceylon. 4 men had been sent there to take photographs and film for a travelogue in England. Their ultimate destination was the ancient temple of Kataragama. At that time, it was not easy to get there, and the men had to make their way through the thick jungles. The idea was that they could capture the temple and its worshippers. This didn't seem like a thrilling assignment to these guys. It was a job, and that's how they were looking at it. No one involved expected to see anything that exciting. The crew. The quartet was headed by an English artist named Mr. Brooke Farrar. That is how it was reported. Since that time, it is generally assumed this was Charles Brooke Farrar. He was a landscape painter who would have been around 40 years old at the time. It's not absolutely proven that these 2 men are one and the same, but they have the same last name, they were both artists, and they both lived at the same time. Mr. G.A. Smith worked at a photographic studio in Colombo, the largest city in Ceylon. Mr. De Silva was Smith's assistant from the studio. He was Sinhalese, the largest ethnic group on the island. The 4th man was unnamed in the original report. He is assumed to have been a government official and doesn't play any important part in this story. At the temple. It was broad daylight when the men entered the temple of Kataragama. Brooke Farrar's attention was immediately caught by a beautiful woman who somehow seemed out of place. He guessed she was of Tamil ethnicity. This lady acted very peculiar and, as he put it, was in a state of complete religious ecstasy. Her dancing was so intriguing that Brooke Farrar and Smith knew they had to film her. After all, she was the most thrilling thing about this place. Brooke Farrar and Smith set up on some nearby stairs to photograph and film the dancing woman. Brooke Farrar took 7 or 8 photographs of the woman. Smith used up quite a bit of film reel on the entertaining beauty. De Silva took 2 or 3 photos, but from a different angle that framed the woman between 2 small groups of worshippers. Between those 3 men and their cameras, they were sure to have something good to show of the sexy dancer. The major unreveal. After the 3 men took their pictures and footage of the dancing woman, they went on to explore other parts of the temple for their project. Everything seemed alright until they developed their results and discovered something seriously wrong. With all the photos taken and all the film that was shot, the strange but beautiful dancing woman was not in any of the shots that she should have been in. They looked at their pictures over and over. Everything else was there. The temple, the worshippers, everything but the woman. Not only was this frustrating, it spooked the men quite a bit. They were entirely unable to explain what had happened. It's important to note that all 3 of these men were said to have been entirely sober and had reputable backgrounds. They all saw the same thing, but what did they see? A ghost? An angel? The men told their story to a newspaper in Singapore, an island country in Southeast Asia. It was published in their Sunday edition on October 24th, 1937, and from there the story went into legend. The aftermath. Almost immediately after the first report, other newspapers and writers of various books and magazines started retweaking the story to make it more interesting. Quite amazingly, this popular paranormal event did not make a superstar out of anyone who was involved with it or who wrote about it afterwards. It's a fun story that became obscure over time. This is probably because the 4 men who were on the expedition dropped out of sight. It is very likely that they didn't want to talk about it any further for risk of being called lunatics. The goddess. Brooke Farrar and his friends never said anything about the woman being a goddess. That is something that was applied to the story afterwards to make it more exciting. However, it's not unreasonable to assume that it could have been a goddess. She was certainly someone who was not in our plane of existence. In the various sources I've found on this subject, no one mentions by name who the goddess could be. I like to dig a little deeper, and I do believe I found a possible suspect for our dancing goddess of Ceylon. The men had visited the temple of Kataragama. He was a warrior god. When Kataragama came to Ceylon in ancient times, he met a human girl named Valley. She was a beautiful maiden princess and a huntress. They fell in love, and he made her a goddess. They never left the area, and they never died. What's interesting to point out about this legend is that the happy god and goddess have fun like children, and to this day are said to play hide and seek with each other and their devotees. People who live around the temple of Kataragama try to seek out the godly couple, and they will sometimes appear as to play with their followers. If Valley was who the men had filmed and photographed in the temple, then it is likely she was having some harmless fun with them, like a hoochie-coochie game of peekaboo. The Dancing Goddess of Ceylon is a fun story, a happy story, maybe a little bit spooky, but still way past strange.